Welcome to the Volunteer Tracker tip for this week. We're going to talk about how to search and find your volunteers and then how to communicate with them. So your organization uses the Volunteer Tracker to allow volunteers to enter their volunteer information, indicate their interest areas, and then allow the approval process to go through. So once you have a list of approved volunteers, you can always find them from the Volunteer Tracker. When you log into the Volunteer Tracker, as a volunteer coordinator, you will automatically be on the Volunteers tab and at the approved volunteers lists. So this list, if you scroll down through this, will show you all of your approved volunteers, and there may be multiple pages of those for you. You'll have pagers at the top that you can scroll through those. But if you have a lot of volunteers, which I hope you do, it can be a challenge to find who you're looking for. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But first, let me tell you what you have in the volunteer panel for each of your volunteers. Your volunteers have the option of including a profile picture if they'd like to. Also, you can see the email address of the volunteer, any affiliations or organizations they have, and then also you can hover right here over the children's names and see which students or children are associated with the volunteer, and then any languages that the volunteer has indicated that they may be able to provide assistance with. The second panel shows phone numbers. This middle panel shows which school or locations that the volunteer would like to volunteer in. So you will only see volunteers that have listed the location where you or locations where you are a volunteer coordinator for. So you'll see that listed here. And then any activities that the volunteer has indicated they're interested in volunteering for. The last panel shows you the date that they are approved and the level. So let's say that you are looking for a particular volunteer, maybe with a last name of Smith. The top area of the Volunteer Tracker provides you a capability to do searching and filtering so that you can locate your volunteers. Now there is a counter on the left side here that indicates how many volunteers have met your criteria. So when you first come up, this is going to show your total number of volunteers. So that right now we're on a demo site, we have 10 volunteers. And so if I need to search for a volunteer with the last name of Smith, I can simply type that into the box. It's not case sensitive. And then you use this filter search volunteers to find the volunteers that meet your criteria. Now you can put multiple search options here. So I'm going to click and choose filter and search. And so you can see that I have 2 volunteers, my counter shows 2, that have Smith in the last name. I can use the clear reset button to start over. So I'm going to clear that and back to all of my volunteers. And now let's talk about how we might really use this in your application. So let's say we want to do a meeting with volunteers who might be interested in improving the look of the entrance of our school. And so one of the things that we can do is search based on the interest areas that the volunteers indicated that they might be interested in volunteering. So I'm going to drop this down and in this case choose gardening. Now these activities are set by your organization, so you can touch base with the administrator of your volunteer tracker if you would like to add activities that might benefit you. So we'll click on gardening. Again, we'll do filter and search, and you can see we have 7 volunteers that meet that criteria. Now the other great thing about the volunteer tracker is once I've located these volunteers, I can email this list, the list I have filtered for, and send all 7 of these volunteers an email, maybe indicating that we're going to do a meeting about improving the look of the school. And so I can say, meeting on school beautification. I can put any text that I want to here. I'm just going to do a test, but I can send this. You'll see this is sending to 7 volunteers, and simply click the send now button and that will send that out. So you can see how easy it is to recruit additional volunteer time, communicate with your volunteers about areas that interest them, and really encourage them to get involved in what you're doing. And so I hope you've enjoyed this tip of the day, and I hope you'll look for additional volunteer tracker tip emails. Thank you very much.